Facebook. We should now be live for my 7th live coaching, 7 in 7 days. And today I'm joined by a lovely bearded fellow who's called Sam Wild. Hi, Sam.
Oh yeah, I'm not so sure about the lovely, but yeah, I'm definitely bearded.
I was being polite. Yeah.
You've been speaking to my friends, obviously.
So no, they actually said something else. But it's funny, isn't it? Someone said to me, "You know a man's friends because they will say absolutely horrible things about the man, but they won't mean it." Whereas with women, if they often say really, really nice things about each other, but they also don't mean it. So who knows if that's true or not? Who knows?
Well, dodgy ground.
But thank you for joining me today. This is the 7th video, and it's great because we're covering a lot of content or a lot of questions that a lot of coaches are asking, and I think they're fairly universal questions. And the question that you asked, and I wrote a little post about it earlier today, is one that I can certainly relate to from several years ago, and is often the question that coaches ask once they've got past that initial hurdle of getting my first few clients in and starting getting the ball rolling. It's like, God, was this a fluke? Did this really work out this way? Is this how it really works? So I think it could be a really great conversation for us to discuss today. But what would be really useful, because some of the people I've coached, I've had conversations with before, or we've been interacting with before, but you and I have not had too much, which is probably a good thing. It kind of keeps it really fresh. So I thought a really good place to start would be just give me a little bit about your background of you as a coach and how long you've been coaching, etc.
Sure. Well, to be honest, I haven't been coaching that long. As a kind of coach full time, started about actually almost a year ago this week, funnily enough. And before that, just to kind of give you an idea, I was a personal trainer, and I built up a successful personal training business over a period of sort of 3 or 4 years, and I was very happy doing it. But I always felt like there was more. There was more that I could give, and more ways in which I can serve people, because I really started to see the problems people were having weren't necessarily to do with the food and the exercise. It was more before that. It was something deeper. And sort of going just back a little bit, I'd been through quite a sort of intense life change to some degree. Me and my wife were told that, well, I was made redundant 1 month, which hit us quite hard because we just finished renovating our house. And then I was told that we were unlikely to be able to have children because I had male infertility. And it kind of hit us quite hard, and it took me to quite a deep, dark place for a period of time while I was building my business. And it was hard. It was really, really hard, to be honest with you. And it wasn't until I had therapy, I was offered happy pills, I was offered the works, very much let's fix Sam. That's how it felt. And I knew for me, I didn't need fixing. I needed something else, but I just wasn't sure what. And it wasn't until I actually came across a coach who just approached me and said, "Hey, Sam, why don't you come around? Let's have a session," that my life completely changed. She held me responsible for my feelings, not what was happening to me. And it was so transformative over the next year or so that I just wanted more. And I grew and grew and grew. And I just felt that I really had something that I could share and help people to have the same opportunity as I did, basically. And it's led me to this point. And coaching business-wise, doing it for a year, started off fine. I was coaching people, offering them 2-hour deep session, and I was getting great responses, started to create some clients. But I kind of thought, right, let's start this as a business, which I shared on the group, and it didn't go particularly well. I took on a business coach, and she had me selling, she had me calling, she had me, Steve Chandler would agree, and I'm sure you will, Ankush. It was just creepy. I felt disconnected. I didn't feel in service to people. It was actually quite hard. I didn't make any money. And over November, December and January this year, we had to use our savings to get us through. And it wasn't until February that I'd kind of gone back to just committing myself to deep service to people that my business just suddenly, just boom, just went bang. And I had clients, and still do, coming left, right and centre. I had 3 sign up yesterday. And it's just, for me, like I said to you, in regards to this call, it almost feels too good to be true. It feels like I'm waiting for it to go wrong because it just feels so right. And yeah, I guess it just feels for me like I don't want it to change. You know? So that's kind of me in a nutshell. That's what brought me to this place, basically.
And so, if you had a very clear question, if you wanted something to be answered on this call, what is that question?
Oh. Will it be okay?
And this might sound like a silly question, but what do you mean by that?
I think what I mean by that, or what it feels that I mean by that, is that it's been such an incredibly intense experience, from going from nothing, sort of feeling bottomed out, to suddenly to feeling like I'm more successful and made more money than I ever made. I guess for me, I want to feel that I'm going to be okay with whatever outcome, that I can welcome any outcome.
And how much grounding work have you had with what we call the 3 principles?
Not a lot, actually. I came to the 3 principles after I became a coach, and it wasn't until I started to learn about it that I could see elements of it. Even though I was fairly ignorant to it, there was elements of it within my coaching, and I just thought, I just want to know more. So not a lot, to be honest, Ankush, not a lot.
See, one of the really powerful things, I did a recording. I was interviewed by Steve Chandler for his school. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. And I talked about the real power of the 3 principles understanding within this profession called coaching. And what I said was, to me, it's like a secret weapon, or like a cheat code or something with regards to this profession.
Mm.
Because as we spoke about before we went live, you know, this question that you've got is a question that so many coaches have.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
So many coaches have the same thing. Is this a fluke? Is this going to work out? And a lot of the questions that we've had have been questions that are pretty universal. So to me, you know, this isn't a fact, but in general, as a generalization, I see a lot of coaches go through these sort of phases, right?
Yeah.
And these sort of questions come up. And for me, the 3 principles understanding is really helpful, because it helps me get over these illusions and insecurities a lot quicker. Because it's pointing us to something. And one of the central tenets, or one of my big insights from exploring the principles, has been my feelings, my experience of life is created from the inside out. It's created via my thinking, you know, moment to moment to moment.
Yeah.
And when I got introduced to this, I thought, well, that sounds a little bit simplistic. But I started to explore this. And I encourage you not to take my word for it, but I encourage you to explore this for yourself, and look at times in your life where you felt really, really good, and times in your life where you felt really, really not good. Are they 100% aligned to circumstance? Were there ever times where things weren't going so good, but you just found an inner resilience? Were there times when things were going really well and you just felt down? Because I could think of lots of examples. Can you?
Absolutely, actually, the one that comes to mind for me is absolutely what I've been through in the last few years with infertility, and then going on to have a kid, from one extreme to the other. Absolutely, yeah, yeah, I completely resonate with that. Absolutely.
So there's clues in that, and the clues are that we are not living in the feeling of our circumstances, right? So life is giving us this clue all the time, right? It's telling us about how reality really works, as opposed to how we think it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what you can see is, regardless of if your coaching business does well or whether it doesn't do well, it has nothing to do with how you feel. Zero. Nothing. And the reason why that's such a powerful, what I call a secret weapon, is because it's from that place that you really become non-needy.
Yeah.
That's kind of the irony. When we really see this, it doesn't make us lazy and like, oh, well, we won't get out of bed because everything will be fine. What I found is it really opens me up to my own creativity. It really opens me up to service. It really opens me up to all the things that it will make it easier for me to have a thriving practice.
Yeah.
So my short answer to you is yes. Are you going to be okay? Yes.
Yeah.
But do you see that?
Do you know, it's interesting because as you were talking, I already feel that I'm going to be okay. I think it's that I'm almost trying to rationalize it. It feels like I'm trying to rationalize it rather than, because I talk to my clients about this all the time, exactly the same thing. This about feelings not necessarily being completely in alignment with the reality, because it's just not the way. They're transient, right? They come and go. But yeah, I can totally feel that's true for me.
See, the way that coaching success comes, as you've seen, it is through service.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And the more that you know you're going to be okay no matter what, the easier it is to be in service of others. Right? Now, I had this going on for me where my first year of full-time coaching was 2015. And I had a great year, and I finished the year with a completely full practice, couldn't take on any more clients. And I had this thought of, is this a fluke? Is it a fluke or is it something that I can repeat? And what was really useful for me was having my coach in my ear saying, no, that's not how our industry works, right? The better you are as a coach, the more you learn to serve, right? The more impact you have, the easier it is to build a practice, the more money you're going to make.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting as you're talking because the evidence of that is, well, it's right in front of me. It's right here. I've created more clients in the first, and actually, even let's be honest, let's talk money and businesses and coaching clients. Has been more successful in the first quarter of this year than I was in the whole of the last year, even in terms of money. So the evidence is right there. But I think something you said to me a minute ago made me realize actually that I'm attaching the thought to the feeling. That's how it feels. That I've kind of maybe attached the thought to the feeling instead of just allowing it. I talked to a lot. I was talking to a client this morning about that actually, that in my coaching practice, I shared with her that instead of me wanting to create something particular, I just got curious. So I kind of answered my own question, to be honest.
Absolutely. See, if we took all your clients away from you and we took everything that you'd achieved over the last year away from you, right? You would have, and let's let's say we took you, or let me put it another way. Let's say we took you, put you in a time machine, and took you to a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you, knowing what you know now, went back and did your first year of coaching again.
Yeah.
You're going to make more money. You're going to have more success, in all likelihood, than you did the first time round, because of all the things that you've learned.
Yeah.
And this happens year upon year upon year.
I see what you did there, Ankush. Very clever. I like that. It's a nice insight. Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, one thing I say to coaches as well is that sustainable coaching practices, in my opinion, are really supported by two things. Two things really help us to have sustainable long-term coaching practices, right? The first thing is referrals.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, if you get referrals, that really helps you to grow your practice. Now, the longer you coach and the better you get at coaching, the easier it is for you to get referrals, because you're going to be more impactful. Right? It just makes sense.
Yeah,
I remember years ago thinking, oh, well, I don't get that many referrals, but I know I'm a good coach. I'm getting good feedback, but there's a certain level you have to get. There's a certain impact you have to get referrals. And you can be really good and you can get really good feedback, but you only see it when you do it.
Yeah.
Right? That to me is a really great feedback. If I'm getting referrals, I know the power of the work that I'm doing. And the second piece of it is renewals. Now, some people might disagree. I know there are some coaches who only coach for a short amount of time, but what I've seen, and I've spoken about this before, I had a client who signed up with me last year because he had a pornography addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really what we were focusing on. But before we were even halfway through the program, you know, that was done. We'd solved that piece. But because he'd paid for the sessions, we kept going. And what occurred and what came out of it was all this new stuff that he wanted to explore. Well, now that I know that I'm enough, now that I know that I don't need to feel shameful about my addiction, now that I know it doesn't control me and I'm not in this vicious cycle of, giving into my addiction, then feeling bad about it, feeling so bad that I then go back to my addiction to try and feel good for a little bit.
Mm.
It opened up all sorts of new things. And so, I'm happy to coach someone for as long as they want to be coached by me, because I know there are an infinite number of things we can coach around, and nobody needs coaching. This is not trying to sign people up for long-term packages for things that they don't need.
Mm-hmm.
This is about helping people go and live, and create in the world whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
And so with those two things, that's what really helps a sustainable coaching practice, or they, in my opinion, they do. And again, the longer you've been coaching, the better you get as a coach. Both those things become easier, or they show up more in my experience. So that's something else that you've got going for you too.
It's listening to you say that, Ankush, has made me, well, not made me, it's created a feeling of just massive gratitude, actually, because I think for my whole existence, actually, even as a child, I was a real pleaser, and I would do everything for everybody else. And it wasn't until I became a coach, it's the first thing I really, really did for me. And I had a lot of doubt, lots of people doubted me. I never doubted. And I, for the first time in my life, stopped chasing money and just followed my absolute passion and desire. And all I have had is referrals and recommendations. I have done no work, really. Well, I have, but no marketing, really all of my work's come from 2 clients, 2 sessions. And it's grown from there. And just sitting here talking to you, it's a nice feeling of gratitude that actually the first time in my life I've done it for myself. And this has been service to me. And that for me, and for me, I was just talking there about service to others, is obviously the world around me is a reflection of me. That's how I feel. And if I'm in service to myself, then that then has led me to be in deeper service to others than I could ever really hope for. And that's in a reflection of what's happened. So I think what I'm trying to say is the question that I was asking was maybe stopping me from seeing that. So that's the powerful thing for me is that I'm getting gratitude rather than an answer to a question that's kind of irrelevant anyway, really.
Well, it becomes irrelevant when you see how this whole practice thing really works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And this is exactly what you do for your own clients.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
You help them have a shift in how they view the world, and often their questions change.
Yeah. Beautifully simple, I always like to think.
Absolutely.
An insight there for me as well, and sharing this with the guys that are watching is, I often find that the initial question isn't the desired outcome. You ask the question, but something different, completely different comes up. So, and one thing I always sort of say to my clients, again, sharing this with you, talking about that, the power of working with people is to question their story. And I do this for everybody else, and obviously I still have coaching of my own. But I wanted to do this because, well, I didn't want to do it. So that's why I did it. So, yeah.
Can I share something with you which is relevant to what we're talking about?
Yes, please.
Something that Steve shared with me this year, which was it this year or last year? I can't remember, end of last year, that was really, really helpful. And he talked about the connection between service and money, right? Service and prosperity. And he explained it in a way that I'd never really thought about it. And he said, look at, let me ask you, who's your favorite pop star or musician or singer?
It's a really, really tough question, Ankush. Probably my favorite singer is the lead singer out of Stereophonics, to be honest.
Okay, right. How much money have you spent over the years? How much money have you given to Stereophonics in the form of single sales, album sales, concert tickets? How much you spent overall, roughly, ballpark?
A few £100 probably.
Okay, right. So this isn't what Steve said, but I'm kind of turning it into a little bit of a game because it's fun for me. So let's say £200. Would you say that's reasonably accurate?
Yeah, let's go for that. That sounds all right.
Okay. If I said to you, let me give you £200 right now, and we will erase the Stereophonics out of your memory, and you'll never come across them for the rest of your existence, would you take the £200?
Well, no, definitely not.
Right? Most people say that it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So the Stereophonics have created at least £200 worth of value in your life. More than that, for which you've been very, very happy to pay £200 for.
Yeah.
Right? And all of their other fans have done their version. 10 quid here, 20 quid there, £100, £200, £1,000. They've all paid for their enjoyment of the music that the Stereophonics put out. Right? They've enjoyed it. They appreciate it. It's created value in their life. And so they've paid for that. And so Stereophonics' wealth is a reflection of their service in the world. Right? The most recent movie that's out at the moment, which this will age this video now really well in the future, is the Avengers movie that's come out. Right?
Yeah.
It's, I think, going to break all the records, and it's already broken some records of probably being one of the biggest grossing movies of all time. But, and I went to see it last week, the cinema was packed. It's making a lot of money, not because it's been marketing well or this, that, and the other, but people really enjoy that. People have enjoyed all these Marvel films over 10 years, which have been building up to this one movie. And we can see that because the recent film, which was kind of the DC version with Superman and everyone else, didn't do so well. Yes, it made some money, but it didn't do anywhere near as well. And that's a reflection of Marvel's service in the world. They have entertained to the tune of hundreds of millions of billions of dollars
Yeah.
through what they've created. Now, for me, to enjoy all of those films probably has cost maybe £100, maybe probably less than that. And I've got so much value. If you said, here's £100, Ankush, we'll take that away from you. I'm like, no, I enjoy that. Right? And it just goes to show very clearly that in any field, that our wealth, our prosperity is a reflection of the service we put out there.
I love that, Ankush. I think for me, that's probably the most powerful thing as a coach. Because I learned that through just kind of winging it, really, learning my own way, which is, I guess, what we all do anyway. But that's a lovely insight, because I've got more money now than I've ever had. So to see that as the value that I'm delivering to the world it feels more of a gift, because often I think, well, when I look at it, I'm kind of, because it will happen very quickly, I kind of look at it and it just kind of scares me, so I don't even touch it, So, yeah, when I look at it as a gift, I love that idea. And I think that is so powerful for new coaches to understand as well, that kind of link between the value of what you deliver to the world and what you have.
It's powerful for all coaches. It's not just new coaches. It's useful for me. It's useful for you. It's useful for someone who's starting out, and it's useful for someone who's been coaching for 20 years. Because I've also seen coaches at whatever level they are in their business forget this. And I really mean that. I'm in a privileged position in some ways that I get to talk to a lot of other coaches about their business because of what I do and the stuff I'm doing with Steve. And I've seen it. And it's a really useful reminder to all of us that this is really about service.
Yeah.
So even those coaches who are charging, like Steve Hardison, who's charging $200,000 per client, he's doing that and he can do that and continue to do that and have waiting lists for his coaching simply because he's creating more than that value in the lives of his clients, right?
Yeah.
If you're a CEO of a $1 billion company and you spend a year with Steve and it helps you grow your business from $1 billion to $2 billion, then it's well worth it for that CEO to pay $200,000 to have $1 billion worth of growth in their company.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer for them.
Yeah.
And again, it's the same thing. If you said to them after they've done that, what if we give you the money back, but we take this away from you? They wouldn't do it.
Of course.
And so when I look at my own coaching practice through that lens, it's really simple. And it makes sense what Steve says is that every morning he wakes up and says, who can I serve?
Mm-hmm.
Who can I serve? How can I serve more than I did yesterday?
Yeah. And I completely feel that in me as well. I can share that with you for sure. I think it definitely this year, because really it feels kind of like after what happened at the end of last year, how grateful now I am for that, because it took me to that exact, kind of almost forced me to see that, because I could wake up in the morning and exactly that feeling of, and I really feel that's true for me as well. I could wake up and say, how can I serve this person, or how can I serve this person better? And yeah, it's a powerful lens to look through that, Ankush, definitely.
Well, great. I don't want to labour this too much. Are we complete for now? Have you got what you wanted from this? I know it's a short session, but from this laser coaching session?
Totally. Absolutely. I think the thing that stands out for me is what I already know to be true, is that I'm okay. And everything is exactly how it is meant to be, because it is. Reality is reality. Yeah, that's me. It's me done. I appreciate that, Ankush.
Well, thank you for being open and vulnerable for this coaching session. I know that, with all the coaching sessions I've done over the last week or so, not only has it been helpful, I hope, for the people that have been coached, but it's also been really helpful for those who have listened in as well. And so I really want to, honor you for being willing to be coached live on screen. and allow other people to see you and listen to your question and be coached around it, because you're really doing the group a service by opening yourself up for coaching. So I want to thank you for that.
It's my pleasure. It's interesting because before I got on here, you heard me say I did it because I didn't want to do it. And since I was this is just a fun story really. When I was a kid, I always used to get in trouble at school because I would always say what I shouldn't say. I was always the one who would always say something that no one else would say. And obviously the teachers and parents didn't like that at the time. But now I'm an adult, I can see the value in it. And I'm so glad that, now I'm a parent, I can teach that to my son as well, because I think path of most resistance. So I appreciate your time, Ankush, and everyone else who's watching as well. I hope that helps.
Brilliant. And what I would say, if any, we have some people watching. We've had some people watching on the replays. If you do watch this, I'd love to hear from you. Please, in the comments below, leave us your feedback, leave us your insights. If you've got questions and you don't understand anything that I've said, please leave that below also. And if these sessions have been helpful and you'd like to experience some of this in person, then send me a private message, because Steve and I are going to be in London this summer on the 9th and 10th of June. And we're really looking forward to doing some work with coaches. We've got some really interesting stuff. I've been behind the scenes working on making it a really incredible event, and got some really cool surprises for people who are coming. So if you're interested in that, then send me a private message. And thanks again today for joining me, Sam.
Pleasure.